Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah share. We're holding a Mishnah Berurah Chelik Beis, and Amir Hashem today we will be learning Daf Samach Vav Amid Aleph. We pick up today really on the bottom of Samach Hey Amid Beis, even though we did already begin Siman Kuf Samach Ches. For the sake of continuity, I'm going to read from the very beginning of Siman Kuf Samach Ches. I won't take the time to do the Mishnah Berurahs that we did already. I'll just paraphrase them outside. So Kuf Samach Ches. Al eze mine pas mevarchin. Over which type of bread should we recite the berachas hamoitzi? Uba yud zayin seifim, and here we have 17 seifim. And like I mentioned yesterday, what we're going to be discussing largely in this siman are the various halachas of kedima. When we go ahead and we make the bracha, the piece that we make the bracha on, we're giving it the chashivus that we make the bracha on it. That's the prusas hamoitzi. That's the prusa that we're reciting the bracha on. We're giving that great chashivas, and because of hidur mitzvah, we want to recite the bracha over the most chashava item possible. So says the Mechaber, let's say you have in front of you a shalem, you have a challah or a bilkala, and you also have sliced up challah, or slices of rye bread. Hakol mimin echad. And they're all one type. What does that mean, one type? Well, they're all wheat bread. Now you should know, when we speak about rye bread, don't get confused. Rye bread is pas chitim. It's not pas shifain. It's not rye. It's wheat bread to which they add a certain amount of rye flour, at least most of the time. So when I'll be using the example of slices of rye bread, you'll ask me, but wait a second, Rabbi Weiss, that's not min echad. It is min echad. It's wheat bread. So if you have a shalem and you have slices, pieces, and they're all one min, they're all the same min, says the Mechaber, mevarech al hashalem, you make the bracha of hamoitzi over the shalem. Pick up the challah with your 10 fingers. Remember, we learned that you're supposed to hold the pas with all 10 fingers. Pick up the challah with 10 fingers and make the bracha on the shalem. So here the Mechaber introduces to us the kedima of shalem. A shalem is more chashiv than a prusa, and therefore, if you have the choice to make the bracha over a shalem or over the prusa, make the bracha on the shalem. Again, this is mishum hidur mitzvah. Now the Mechaber extends that. Says the Mechaber, this is true. Afilu hu pas kiber, pirush lechem she'ena noki v'katan. This is true even if the shalem is pas kiber, it's whole grain, it's whole wheat bread. Now again, I mentioned yesterday, to us nowadays whole wheat, that's like chashiv, that's more chashiv. No, to Chazal, white bread, flour that is more refined, soilus in the language of the pasuk. Soilus is more chashiv than a whole wheat flour that has the psoilus. We call the bran and the chaff, etc., etc. We refer to that as psoilus, as waste material, right? That's why you have all of these malachas and Shabbos, Berurah, etc., where we remove the psoilus, we remove the chaff. So white flour is considered more chashiv than whole wheat flour, and therefore, says the Mechaber, you should understand that when we say that there's a mila to a shalem over a prusa, that's true even if the shalem, afilu hu pas kibor pirush lechem she'ena noki v'katan, even if the shalem is made out of whole wheat flour, which is less chashiv, and it's katan. Maybe the bilkala that you have, the shalem, is smaller than the prusa. And I can give you a very simple case of this, by the way. You go to a simcha, you go to a chassan, you go to a sheva brachas, you go to a bris, and they have one of those suda chalas, and they give it to the waiter to slice up the suda challah, and now they bring out plates of the suda challah to each table. Sometimes you have those pieces of the suda challah that are very big. You could have a piece of the suda challah that's bigger than your bilkala. So now you went, you washed, you come back to the table, you have a bilkala, and you have a giant piece of the suda challah. Which one should you make a bracha on? Now, says the Mechaber, even if the bilkala, the shalem, is whole wheat, And even if it's smaller than the prusa, the slice from the Suda challah is big and it's white, the bilkala is small and it's whole wheat, still, v'achaticha is pasnikiu gedola, says the Mechaber, the slice is made out of white flour and it's big, still in all, you make the bracha on the shalem, and the Mishnah Berurah said in Eis Cotton Bays, the Maila Shalem Odav Tvei Afilu Ba'ofen Zeh. The Maila, the Kedima of Shalem, takes precedent, boy, the English word just slipped out of my head. The Maila of Shalem is greater than the Maila of Pasnoki, and it's greater than the Maila of size, the fact that it's a gadol. Okay, now let's continue in the Mechaber. Last few words here on Tzavachei with Beis. Aval, however, im hashalem misa'orim. Let's say you have a bilkala that's made out of barley flour. So now we're talking about two different minim. You have a bilkala that's made out of barley flour. Barley flour is not considered choshev. So, aval im hashalem misa'orim. If you have a shalem that's made out of barley flour, v'achatichos, and the sliced bread that you have is mechitim, is from wheat flour, afilu hi ketana, even if the sliced wheat bread is smaller than the shalem of the barley flour, what do you do then? Meniach haprusa tachas hashlema. What you should do is you should take the slice of wheat bread, you should take it together with the shalem of sa'irim flour, u'beitzea mishtein yachad. In that case, you should make the bracha on both. You should make the bracha on the shalem, that's made out of barley flour, but you can't give the shalem, that's made out of barley flour, kedima over the slice that's made out of wheat flour. Because wheat flour is much more chashuv than barley flour. At the same time, we don't want you to just take the slice of wheat flour and drop off the shalem completely. We want you to get the mile of shalem as well. So you take the shalem of the barley flour together with the slice that's made out of wheat flour, make the bracha on them together. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Cotton Gimel, the first Mishnah Berurah here on Samach Vav Amud Aleph. In this case, miniach haprusa, you're going to take the slice that's made out of wheat flour, you're going to join it together with the bilkala of barley flour. Why are you doing this? Says the Chavetz Chaim, Kedei lekayem mailas hashlema d'sa'orin. You want to gain the maila of a shalem that you're going to get with the bilkala made out of barley flour, umailas hachitin, and at the same time you're also going to get the maila of the wheat flour, that's the prusa, that's the slice, the chashiva tvei misa'orin, because wheat flour is more chashiv than barley flour. Now, why is it? How do we know that wheat flour is more chashuv than barley flour? Says the Chavetz Chaim, mishum da'aktemei b'pasuk, because we have a pasuk that speaks about wheat and barley, and the pasuk mentions wheat first. Kidiksiv, like the pasuk says, eretz chita usa'ira. This is the pasuk that discusses the Shiva Saminim. It says, eretz chita usa'ira, Eretz chita usa'ira gefenu te'eno v'rimain eretz zei shemenu dvash. What's mentioned in the pasuk first? Eretz chita. These are the 7 species that Eretz Yisrael is praised for. The first one is Eretz chita. It's a land that has wheat. The second one is sa'ira. So if the Torah gave preference to chita over sa'ira, that shows us that a bread that's made out of wheat flour is more chashuv than a bread that's made out of barley flour. I always love to mention, whenever you see something like this, you should know that by Chazal, by Gaonim, by Rishonim, by Achronim, you always find that when they want to prove something, they always reach out to a pasuk. It's never, everybody knows that wheat is more chashuv than barley. I mean, when's the last time you went to Corn's Bakery and found barley bread? They don't have barley bread, they have wheat bread. No, there's no such thing as a davar pashut. You know when it's a davar pashut? When the pasuk says so. And the best example that I always like to use of this is learn Chayvas HaLevavos. In Chayvas HaLevavos, the Baal Mechaber of Chayvas HaLevavos will tell you concepts, and he proves to you that the concepts are true philosophically. He discusses them, and logically and rationally, he will explain to you why the concept is true, but he always brings a pasuk. Ultimately, how do we know something is true? When we see it in the pasuk. When Borei Olam says it's true, that's the absolute truth. Chasimasei shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu emes. So if the pasuk gave preference to chita over se'ira, that's how we know that chita bread is more chashuv than se'ira bread. So again, just not to lose track. So what's the halacha over here? The halacha that we're discussing is you washed, you're about to make a moitzi, you have two choices in front of you. You have a shalem, you have a bilkala, but the shalem is made out of barley flour. You have a prusa. The prusa is made out of wheat flour. Usually, we want to give preference to the shalem over the prusa. But over here, the prusa is of inferior quality. Now, it's not like the case that we had at the beginning of Sif Aleph. In the case of the beginning of Sif Aleph, we had a bilkala that was of inferior quality because it was paskiber. It was whole wheat as opposed to white wheat. Over there, we still give preference to the shalem. But over here, we're talking about two different minim. We're talking about a shalem of barley flour versus a prusa of wheat flour. So now it's a serious change in quality. The prusa is just a much higher quality product because it's made out of wheat flour as opposed to the shalem that's made out of barley flour. In that case, the Mechaber said, you take the two of them together, you make one bracha over both of them together, you get the mila of shalem in the barley bilkala, you get the mila of wheat over the wheat prusa. Continues the Chavetz Chaim here in Ice Cut and Gimel. Umavura b'shas. It is clear in the Gemara Brachas Lametes Amud Beis. De me'ikar adin prusa shalchiten adifa. In this case, really, me'ikar adin, the right thing to do would be to make the bracha on the prusa, on the slice of wheat bread alone. Ela lotzes yidei shamayim kol hamaylis, in order to go kind of lifnim mishuras adin, and get the mila of shalem also, lotzes yidei shamayim kol hamaylis, tzarich laniach prusa tachas hashlema. That's why the Mechaber suggests take the prusa, join it together with the shlema, and get both milas. Because of a Magen Avram, the Magen Avram writes, to become makim, nevertheless, having seen this halacha, mikam makim, im haya shlema mipas shel shifain. This is what's called rye bread. Im haya shlema mipas shel shifain, hu shanu kairin dagon. We refer to it as grain. V'roiv halachamim shalanu mimenuhu. The Chavetz Chaim says that most of the bread in his day, that's what it was made out of. So you have a rye shlema, but this is a real rye shlema. It's 100% rye flour. So says the Chavetz Chaim, if you have a rye shalem, v'aprusa shalchitin, and you have a slice of white flour, v'chein, similarly, if the slice, haya shel sa'irin, if the slice was made out of barley flour, ein lahakmir livtsaya al hashlema im haprusa. In those cases, you do not have to go ahead and be machmir to join the shlema together with the prusa, ela yivtza ala prusa lavad. In those cases, you should only make the bracha on the slice. The shifan kill because rye is inferior af misa'orim. It's even more inferior than sa'irim. So again, let's halt couple over here. The Magen Avram is talking about two cases. One case over here, the first case that the Magen Avram discusses is you have a 100% rye bilkala. So your shalem is rye. You have a prusa that's made out of wheat flour. Or another case, that's the first case. Or the other case that he has is where you have, again, a shalem of rye, and you have a slice of barley flour. I'm going to be very repetitive over here. The case of the Mechaber was you had a shalem. The case of the Mechaber was you had a shalem of barley flour and a prusa of wheat flour. Really, wheat is more chashiv than barley. Really, me'ikar adin, you should make the bracha on the prusa of wheat and forget about the shalem of barley. But lifnim mishuras adin, to get the mile of shalem, the mechaber said, take both. Take the shalem that's made out of barley together with the prusa made out of wheat and make the bracha on both. Get the mile of shalem from the barley bilkala, get the mile of wheat from the wheat prusa. Says the Magen Avram, let's say we're not talking about barley. Let's say we're talking about rye. So now, we have a shalem of rye, or we have a prusa of wheat, or we have a shalem of rye, again, and we have a prusa of sa'irin. So now, we've got shalem in the rye, and we've got in the prusa either wheat or sa'irin. In that case, the Magen Avram says, do not join the slice with the shalem. Drop the shalem. The shalem that's made out of rye, drop it. Make the bracha only on the prusa of wheat or the prusa of barley. And says the Magen Avram, why is that? Says the Chofetz Chaim, why does the Magen Avram say that? Because the shifan kill af b'sa'irim, because rye is even more inferior than sa'irim. How do we know that? Mishum the ein nizkeres bakra behedya, because the pasuk doesn't mention rye. Rye is one of the chameshes mine dagon. It's one of the 5 species of grain that we make mezainis on. We can make hamoitzi on if it's a lechem, if it's a bread. So it's one of the chameshes mine dagon, but it is not named specifically in the pasuk. The pasuk names chita and sa'ira. Never does the pasuk name shifain. The pasuk never mentions shifain. So rye is already very inferior, and even if we have a shalem of rye, we're not going to pick up a shalem of rye in order to gain the extra chashivus of a shalem. But why? Because it's rye. Rye is so inferior, you've got a prusa of wheat or a prusa of barley, you make the bracha on the prusa of wheat or the prusa of barley. Ois cotton dalit, the mechaber says you should take the prusa, again in the mechaber's case, where you have a shalem of barley, which is mentioned in the pasuk, sa'ira, and you have a prusa of chitin. So the mechaber said take them together and make the bracha both together. And in the language of the mechaber, he said take the prusa of wheat and put it tachas hashlema, put it underneath the shalem of barley. Says the Chofetz Chaim, Va'afilu ha'prusa gedola me'ashlema, even if the slice of wheat bread is bigger than the shalem of barley bread, nami tov sheyanich shteim b'yachad, the Pri Megadim says still you should make the bracha on both of them together. Now what's the extra chiddush over here? Well, the extra chiddush is now you have a double mila in the slice of wheat bread. A, it's wheat. B, it's gadol. It's bigger than the shalem of the barley. So now you have 2 milas. Still, says the Pri Megadim, join it together with the shalem, with the barley bilkala, and gain the mila of barley as well. Now let's go to the top line in the Shulchan Aruch here at Samach Vav and Amav to the words of the Ramah. Haga. Says the Ramah, very, very, very important Ramah, that we're going to reference time and time again when we're learning the halachas of brachas and the halachas of kedimus, of what you make a bracha on first, what you make a bracha on second. Says the Ramah, realize, v'chol zeh ki sharoitz alech al mishneim, this whole conversation is only germane if you want to eat both of them. But if you don't want to eat both of them, if you only want to eat one, yivtza, make the bracha on the one that you want to eat, and don't worry about the second one. Even if the second one is more chashiv, or you like it better. That's a big mila. The mila of chaviv, we're going to see time and time again, a food that you like and you get more hana from. That's a mila when it comes to a bracha. You're supposed to make the bracha on something that's chaviv to you. So chaviv is a big mila. But says the Ramah, sometimes even if something is chaviv to you, right now that's not what I want. I mean, you might love chocolate, but if somebody serves you a steak with mashed potatoes, and there happens to be some delicious pie of chocolate on the table, you don't want the chocolate as the side dish to your steak. You want the mashed potatoes as the side dish to your steak. So yeah, chocolate is chaviv, but not right now. I want mashed potatoes right now. I don't want chocolate. So, says this Ramah, very, very critical. Whenever we're going to talk about giving kedima to one item over another item, when it comes to brachas, that's only if I intend on eating both of them. I intend, let's say this last halacha that the Mechaber said, I have a barley bilkala, and I have a beautiful slice from the Suda challah of nice, delicious, white challah. You know what? I don't like barley challah. I'm not intending to eat the barley challah. So you're going to tell me that I should be baitseya, I should take the slice of the white challah and the bilkala of the barley flour and make a bracha on them together and then take a piece of each one and eat it? I don't want to eat barley bread. I have no interest in barley bread. So okay, so then don't make a bracha on it. Why? Because it's not negaya to you. This is not part of my meal. In other words, it's not an option. It's not one of the options. This whole discussion of what you should give preference to when it comes to the bracha is because I want to eat this and I want to eat this. So okay, so which one should you make the bracha on? But if I'm not eating this, so it's not a geya. It's not part of the equation. I only have to make a bracha on what I'm going to eat. I don't have to make a bracha on what I'm not going to eat. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Ve'ein lachish l'sheni, ois cut and hay. Ava pishu lefanav, even though it happens to be in front of you, v'hu mukdam b'pasuk, and maybe it's something that's listed in the pasuk ahead of the other, like in this case over here. If you have eretz chita u'sa'ira, let's flip the case. You have eretz chita u'sa'ira. So chita is more chashiv. I have wheat bread in front of me. I also have barley bread in front of me. The wheat is more chashiv, but I don't want to eat the wheat. I want to eat the barley. That's what I want to eat. Then you're going to make the bracha of the barley. Even though both of them are in front of you, and maybe one of them is listed ahead of the other one in the pasuk, so it's more chashiv in the pasuk, or you like it better normally, or it's more chashiv. I'm not suddenly mechuyev to eat it because it happens to have a halacha of a hakdama in brachas. I always said, the joke that they would always talk about is the guy who's going for a shidduch, and the girl's father wants to farher him. So the girl's father goes ahead and puts out a fruit platter. And on the fruit platter, he has dates, and he has figs, and he has grapes, and he has pomegranate seeds, and he wants to see, is this guy an Amoritz? Or does he know something? Which one is he going to make a bracha on first? He has to make a bar priyates. Well, Eretz Chita Usa'ira Gefen. So Gefen, Eretz Chita Usa'ira Gefen U'te'ein over Rimoin. So the way the Hakdam in brachas works is the one that is closer to the word Eretz is more chashuv. Now there's two words Eretz in the pasuk. Eretz Chita Usa'ira Gefen U'te'ein over Rimoin. Eretz zeis shemen udvash. So Eretz chita usa'ira gefen. Gefen, so that would be a grape. Gefen is three words removed from Eretz. Chita, sa'ira, gefen. All right. So let's say you have grapes on the fruit platter, and you also have olives on the fruit platter. Well, olives are Eretz Zeis Shemen. So you have olives right over there. Eretz Zeis Shemen Udvash. It's one removed from Eretz. So really, olives comes before grapes. But I don't like olives. I'm not interested in eating olives. So the way out of this farher always is, it doesn't matter which one I took first. You're going to get in trouble if you eat more than one. But if you want to protect yourself, all you got to do is only eat grapes. Don't eat anything else. Then there can't be a tain on you as far as Hakdam and brachas. I ate what I wanted. And the one that's chaviv to me, the ones that, if I'm not interested in eating anything else, I'm not mechuyev to go eat the olive because I have to make the berachah on the olive because it happens to be on the platter. If I don't want to eat an olive, I don't got to eat an olive. I'm not mechuyev to eat an olive. I'm making a bracha on a grape because I want to eat a grape. If you want to eat grapes and the olives, then you have to make the bracha on the olive first. But if I'm no interest in eating olives, I can make a berachah on a grape and I can eat the grape. Okay. Continues the mechaber over here. Umistabra, continues the Mishnah Berurah, he's cutting hay. Umistabra the dafke meina roitza lechal ela meyechad. If you only want to eat one of them, avalin britzainoi shavahu lechal mizeh mizeh. That's when you have an issue. If you want to eat both, ushtei munachim lefanav, and they're both in front of you, af sheina roitza lechal mishtem yachad, even though I don't want to eat them both together at the same time, that's when you have an inyan of being makdim, the one that comes first in the line of hakdama for brachas. Okay, so again, that's a very, very important ramah to remember that this whole shaila of hakdama and brachas is only if you can eat both. If you have no intention of eating both, I didn't come here to make a bracha on olives. I came in to eat grapes. So then I don't have a shaila of hakdama. There's no shaila, I want to eat grapes, but since there happens to be an olive here, I got to make the bracha on an olive. I don't want to eat an olive. Okay, stop beating a dead horse. All right, 3 lines down, the middle of the line, sif beis. Im shtei shleimos mimin echad. Let's say you have 2 bilkalach, you have 2 shleimim. Im shtei shleimos mimin echad, you have 2 wheat bilkalach. Achas gedola, one is big, v'achas ketana, and one is small. Mevarach al gedola, you make the bracha on the gedola. Okay, so now we're introducing over here the concept of a kedima of gadol. Gadol, bigger, is more chashiv, so make the bracha on the gadol. Ois kat vav, mevarach al gedola, v'davka kishayu shteim shavim b'yofi. Now that's only true if in a what he calls beauty. If they're both equal in beauty, then you select the big one first. Avalamakhtana nikia, but if the smaller bilkala is whole wheat, imaktana nikia, if the smaller bilkala is white wheat, vagadola kibar, and the big one is whole wheat, mevarach, then make the bracha on the ktana. So again, let's get this straight. The mechaber is telling you there's a mile of gadol over cotton. So you have one of those mushroom bilkalach in front of you, and then you have one of those standard little challah rolls in front of you, and they're both made out of white flour. Go for the gadol. Gadol is a chashivas over a cotton. But if the nice big mushroom bilkala is whole wheat, and the challah roll is white wheat, then you make the bracha on the white wheat one. But now let's remember the Ramah. If you're on a diet and you only eat whole wheat, because whole wheat is a higher glycemic index, so you want to make sure that you're only eating whole wheat, you only eat whole grain, so then the white challah roll is not on my radar screen. I don't have to take it into consideration because I only eat whole wheat. In that case, you're going to make the bracha on the bigger whole wheat challah. Not because it's bigger, not because it has preference over the white challah roll in the hakdama of brachas, because the white challah roll is not on my radar screen. It's not something that I eat. I only eat whole wheat. So I'm going to make the bracha on the whole wheat. Okay. Weiter in the mechaber here in Sif Beis. Im yesh la'adam, we're 4 lines down near the beginning of the line. This is a very interesting halacha. Im yesh la'adam shnei chatzoi lechem. Ve'en lo lechem shalem. Somebody sits down to eat, and he doesn't have a shalem. But what he does have is somebody took a bilkala and cut a bilkala in half. So you have 2 halves of a bilkala. So all right, you would think, I sit down to eat, and all I have is 2 halves of a bilkala. All right, so that means I have 2 slices. If I have 2 slices, what should the hakdama be? Well, I guess if they're not cut perfectly in half, one of them is bigger than the other. So I should make the bracha on the gadol. Says the mechaber. No. Says the mechaber. Im yesh la'adam shtei chatzoi lechem. If you have two halves of a loaf, ve'ein lechem shalom, and you don't have a shalom, yechabreim yachad. You should attach the two halves. How? Be'etz, using a wooden toothpick, or something else that you could use to stick them together that will not be visible. V'dinoi kedin shalom, and now it gets a din of a shalom. V'afilu b'Shabbos yachal lechabram, and you can even attach them this way even on Shabbos. What's the Mechaber saying? The Mechaber is saying is, you have two halves of a bilkala, take a couple of toothpicks, stick half of the length of the toothpick into one half of the challah, half of the length of another toothpick into one half of the challah, and then use the toothpicks to stick into the other half, and now you're attaching the two halves of the bilkala using those toothpicks that are inside the challah, and you can't see them. And that makes it a shalom. So now you have the milah of shalom. Don't just say, okay, I only have two slices in front of me. No, stick them together and turn it back into a shalom. And then the Mechaber adds on at the end of the sefer, by the way, you should know you're allowed to do this even on Shabbos. Let's take a look at the Mishnah Berurah. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Ois Katan Zayin, Yechabreim Yachad. You should attach the two halves together. Magen Avram takes issue with this. The Daita, in his opinion, is the B'choil ain't tzarich lahader achazeh. During the week, you certainly don't have to trouble yourself to do this. Let's remember, the mile of shalom is hiddur mitzvah. That's the whole mile over here is hiddur mitzvah. It's not like a chiyuv that you have to have a bracha on a shalom. It's a mile. If you have a shalom, make a bracha on a shalom. But to say that I should stick it together with toothpicks in order to gain the hiddur mitzvah of the shalom, the Magen Avram is not happy. For rak to be Shabbos, but on Shabbos, to be in on lechem mishnah shalom, on Shabbos you have a concern. Because on Shabbos you need lechem mishnah, you need two shleimin. So then Yasezeh, then you should use this kunz to stick them together. For rak sheyizayir, but you should be careful, shelo yikach etchu muktzah lozeh. Don't go ahead and use a piece of wood that's muktzah. Right? You don't have a toothpick. So you'll look outside and you see a twig. Oh, that's a perfect shaped twig. I could use it to stick my challah together. No. Eitzim va'avonim are muktzah, and they're muktzah machmas gufay. That's a type of muktzah that even if you need it for something on Shabbos for a dvar heter, you're not allowed to go use it. A hammer is muktzah because it's a klisha malachta leiser. It's something that's generally used for something that's prohibited on Shabbos, construction. So it's muktzah. But machmas, the phraseology is popping out of my head today. I don't know why. But if you need it for something that's mutter on Shabbos, so you have a tough walnut and you want to open the walnut with a vice grip, or you want to bust it open with a hammer, you're allowed to do it, right? But when it comes to eitzim vavonim, sticks and stones, eitzim vavonim are muktzah machmas gufam, and they're not mutter to use even for a mutter purpose on Shabbos, unless you're making them on Erev Shabbos. The classic example. Your back door. You want to prop your back door open. You're not allowed to go into the backyard and take a stone on Shabbos and use it as a doorstop. Why? Because the stone is muktzah. It's muktzah machmas gufay. It's muktzah for the entire Shabbos, even if you come up with a mutter use for it. You can't go take a stone from your backyard and use it to smash open a walnut on Shabbos. Why? You're allowed to take a vice grip and smash and use it as a nutcracker on Shabbos. That's because the vice grip is a klisha malachta leiser. And that you have tzarch b'kaimai, tzarch gufay. If you have a mutter use for the vice grip, a mutter use for a hammer, you're allowed to use it for that purpose on Shabbos. But a stone is muktzah machmas gufay. The only way you're allowed to use a stone as a doorstop on Shabbos is if on Erev Shabbos you went out to the backyard, you saw the stone, and you were making it, you prepared it for use as a doorstop. So on Erev Shabbos, you turned it into a doorstop. Now it becomes ois muktzah. Now you're allowed to go use it as a doorstop on Shabbos. But just to go take a twig from the backyard that you weren't making and use it to stick your challah together, that you're not allowed to do. Ubel Yerabah noitel das Shulchan Aruch. Del Yerabah agrees with the das of the Mechaber that even during the week you should be mahader to stick two halves of a challah together to turn it into a shalom. Now the Mechaber said rak shalayi and nireh, but whatever means you use to stick it together cannot be visible. So like you're using the toothpicks are going to be inside the challah. You can't see it from the outside. Says the Chavetz Chaim, avalim nira lehedya shenischaber yachad. But if you could see from the outside, if it's obvious that these were two halves of a bilkala that you stuck together, loy mikri shalem, then it doesn't get a din of a shalem, even if somehow you figure out how to stick it together. So if you're going to take two halves of a bilkala and put a rubber band around them, right? You'll say to yourself, why do I need to do this with the toothpicks? I'll put a rubber band around the two sides of the challah. Not only that, the rubber bands will probably hold the two halves of the challah together better than the toothpick inside will. Yeah, but since the rubber bands are visible from the outside, everybody knows that it's not a shalem. The kunz with the toothpick is it's not visible, so then it looks like a shalem, and then it gets a din of a shalem. Then the Mechaber said that you could do this afilu b'Shabbos. Says the Mishnah Berurah cut tes afilu b'Shabbos. We call makom nevertheless. Im yesh lo acher shalem. If you have another challah, another bilkala that's a shalem, lo yivtzal zeh. Don't use this one that you stuck together with toothpicks. Okay, Siv Gimel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines down in the Mechaber. Very common issue. Shnei gluska'is. A gluska is a bun. So you baked challah, and your wife made bilkalach. So she took the dough, and she made bilkalach, and she lined them up on a sheet pan. Now we know what happens when you bake bilkalach on a sheet pan. When they go into the oven, they grow, and they grow into each other. And they kind of get stuck to each other. Says the Mechaber, Shnei gluskais hadvukim yachad. Two bilkalach, two buns that got stuck together. Shenefu, they got baked. V'nechtach min ha'achas. And now what you did was, let's say you pulled two bilkalach off the sheet tray, but they're still connected, right? Now somebody went and made a hamoitzi and sliced into one of the bilkalach. So now what do you have here? You have one whole bilkala, one shalem, that's stuck to another bilkala that was already cut from. So you have a shalem and a prusa that are stuck together. Now that presents us with a very interesting shaila, because we have seen over here so far two different milas, two different hakdamas. We have one kedima of a shalem. We have another kedima of a gadol. Well, now we have a very interesting scenario. If we take the shalem that is stuck to the prusa, well, it's a shalem, and it has another mila. Since it has a prusa stuck to it, it's a shalem that's also gadol. It's also big. So you might have a svara to say, if I want to make a hamoitzi on this bilkala, let me leave the prusa attached to it, because the prusa is making the shalem bigger. So should I leave the prusa attached to the shalem, or should I remove the prusa from the shalem? Says the Mechaber, Siv Gimel. Shnei gluskais hadvukim yachad. Two buns, two bilkalach that were stuck together. Shenefu, they were baked. V'nechtach min ha'achas, and now you cut from one. V'ashniya nishar shlema. But the second one that stuck to this prusa is still a shalem. Says the Mechaber, toiv lahafrid hakaticha me'ashlema. It would be good to remove the prusa, the one that was cut already, from the shalem, kedei shetei niris shlema, so that the shlema should look like a shalem. That is better, mimashi yanichena davuk ba. That's better than leaving the prusa stuck to the shalem, afal pisha niris yoseg gdoila. Even though by virtue of having the prusa stuck to the shalem, it looks like it's bigger, which makes it more chashuv. Very interesting. Says the Mishnah Berurah Ois Katan Yud. Mimashi yanichena, the male shalem, because the mile of shalem, odif mimalas gadol, is bigger than the mila of gadol. So again, what's happening over here is, if we're going to leave the prusa, again, I want you to envision, right? You have one whole bilkala, it was attached to a second bilkala, but the second bilkala was cut. So now you have a whole bilkala attached to a half of a bilkala. Now, on the one hand, that's a mila because it makes the bilkala bigger, because now it's a bilkala and a half. On the other hand, if you make the bracha on that, the open half of the cut bilkala, you could tell that it was cut into. So in a way, it makes the shalem look like it's not a shalem. It looks like something that was cut into. But on the other hand, it makes it bigger, so it makes it gadol. Says the mechaber, no, break the prusa off. Break the second half of the open bilkala off of the other bilkala so that the bilkala should be recognizable as a shalem. Now you made it smaller. That's okay, because shalem is a bigger mila than gadol. Okay, now the Ramah says something interesting. Has to do with the same case. Again, now he says like this, a little different. When you have, again, you made bilkalach on the sheet tray, and they all, grew into each other. So you break them apart. When you break them apart, there's that place on the bilkala where you could tell that something was broken off it. You could tell that that was the point at which it was connected to another bilkala and you broke it away. It's white. You could tell. It's flattened. You could tell that that's where you broke it away. Says the Ramah, when you make the bracha and you're going to cut off a piece, don't cut the piece, the prusas hamoitzi, the piece that you're going to cut off to eat when you make the bracha. Don't cut off that piece from where the bilkala was attached to another bilkala. Shesham nires keprusa, because over there it looks a little bit like a prusa. It looks like something was taken off of it. You should cut from the closed side of the bilkala where it really looks like a shalim. Very interesting halacha. Says the Mishnah Berurah, cut you out. It's only in this case, look, over here, really the challah is a shalim. Where it was connected, it looks like a prusa. That's why the Ramah is telling you, cut from the closed side. But when you're really dealing with a prusa, you don't have a shalim. You're making a moitzi on a slice of white bread, on a slice of rye bread, let's say. You don't have to bedafka break from where it looks like it's a shalim. You could break from whichever side you want. Okay, we're going to stop over here. We'll continue next time with Sif Dalet. Thank you so much for joining me for limud HaTorah. The schus of limud HaTorah should be megan against Klal Yisrael. The Rebbeinu Shalom should send Yeshua's, Refuah's, Parnaset, Shidduchim to all those in need. We should be Zaychet to the Geula Shleima. We should see the Bias Gal Tzedek, B'mher V'yameinu. Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael, and the Sunnah Batzara Ba'ashivya, Ha'imdim Bein B'yam U'Bein B'yabasha, Hamakayim Yerachem Aleihem, V'yatziim Mitzara L'Ravacha, Me'afela La'oiro, Mishiba L'Geula, Hashta B'Gala V'zman Kariv, V'ne'emar Amen. Be well.